Born and raised in Cuba, Felipe de Jesus Estevez grew up in a loving home. Having always played an active role in his parish, Felipe felt a calling to the priesthood early on as he served his church as an altar boy.
I became a priest because as a very, very young teen, I got involved in my parish community. And even though at that time Vatican Council had not taken place, it was an alive community with a lot of lay involvement.
Leaving Cuba as a teenager in the early 60s, Felipe moved to Indiana and continued his education. The trip was an exciting time in his young life.
I left Cuba when I was 15, and at that time my departure from Cuba was seen as a very temporary, short-term departure. It is truly embarrassing to think that this year and a half have become 45 years. It's truly even painful. And at that moment, when you are 15 and you go to a country like the United States, and you know that you will learn a new language, at that moment, looking at it from the perspective of a teen, it was something exciting. It was like an adventure. It was like a new beginning.
Felipe entered the seminary in 1964 and was ordained a priest in 1970 for the Diocese of Matanzas, Cuba. He intended to minister in his homeland of Cuba, but wasn't granted permission to return. Instead, he served as a missionary in Honduras for 4 years.
The Bishop Dominguez, the Bishop of Matanzas of the time, asked me to stay in a Latin American country to make more favorable the return to Cuba. And that is why I went to Honduras with the priest with whom I had studied, Los Padres Canadienses, the priest of the Foreign Mission Society of Quebec. And they asked me to teach at the seminary pretty soon. And so I stayed in Tegucigalpa, Honduras, involved in the work of seminary and vocations.
It wasn't until 1975 that Father Estevez would come to the Archdiocese of Miami and serve as a faculty member and eventually as a rector to the St. Vincent de Paul Regional Seminary in Boynton Beach. In 1987, Father Estevez's dream of becoming a pastor would be fulfilled, and he was assigned to St. Agatha Parish in Miami.
The time of St. Agatha's was marvelous. I had been a priest when I came to St. Agatha's for 17 years already, and I had never been a pastor. And it was a desire that was very strong. So St. Agatha's was the first parish for me. And I think there is something very special when a pastor becomes pastor for the first time with that given community. The love that I had for them was strong from the beginning. I thought that I finally had become a parish priest, which was the dream that I had had since my early years of a seminarian.
Father Estevez worked at St. Agatha for over a decade, and in 2001 returned to St. Vincent de Paul Seminary as its spiritual director. This past November, an unexpected call from Archbishop Favalora changed his life. The Archbishop had just told him that our Holy Father had appointed him the Auxiliary Bishop of Miami.
It was kind of extremely surprised, almost speechless. I think I became prayerful at that moment. And I say a prayer at the beginning of the day. It's called a prayer of abandonment, inspired in Brother Charles de Foucault. And that prayer kind of came to my heart. And you know, it just came like, I accept all, I am ready for all. I trust in your will. I can abide in your will. And it simply was a yes that came out of a praying heart.
On January 7, 2004, Archbishop Favalora was joined by 2 co-consecrating bishops, as well as many other bishops from the Americas, at the Episcopal ordination of Bishop Estevez. It was an emotional day, as well as an overwhelming spiritual day for the newly ordained bishop.
I was gifted with with a spiritual gift of attention. And I was able to listen to the words of the ordination. The words were like, they were speaking to my heart. As Archbishop Favalora was saying them, they had a profound echo within me. Very moving was when I was anointed by the Holy Chrism, and even the ritual says in the mouth of the consecrator, it talks about the mystical oil, and to know that mystical oil, which had a wonderful perfume, by the way, was being poured out on me. That was a very, very moving moment. It was also very moving, that coincidence that there were so many bishops present, because it just so happened that there was a retreat which coincided with the date of my ordination, and they were able to be present. And there's so many hands that were imposed over my head. When the last hand was imposed over my head, I almost felt a release. I say, well, now I can stand up.
Bishop Estevez remains humbled by his appointment and pledges to be a good shepherd for his people.
My goal as bishop is to be a shepherd, to be an image, an icon of the good shepherd, that is Jesus Christ. The closer that I reflect the love and the truth of Jesus Christ, the better minister will I be. I am an ambassador. For an ambassador, you have to be faithful to the source of your mission, that is Jesus Christ. I also think that I represent the church. A bishop represents the church. And I want that church to be faithful to its teaching, to be an instrument of cohesion, of unity, of building up that body of Christ, building up that community, not being very alert to every sign of unity and affirmation.